Pretty Little Liars, the TV show, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We've provided a list of content warnings in the episode description.
Hello and welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we have 2 new episodes from season 2, Pretty Little Liars.
That's right. It's Bad Decision Week.
It's always Bad Decision Week on Pretty Little Liars.
It's even more pronounced this week. Everybody gets in on the action.
Yes.
And who better to lead us into horrible decision making than Spencer?
Yes. Well, I think Hannah makes some of the worst decisions in the show. But I think Spencer comes up with the worst plans.
She has the biggest impact.
Yeah. I think Hannah just kind of is like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Like, it's very impulsive.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, why, girl?
Right. Why would you do that? Uh-huh. She does
Why?
that this week.
She does that this week.
But it's hard to top the the stealing Melissa's ring and then thinking you could get it back by buying Toby's and then buying Toby's truck.
Yeah, the pawning of her sister's ring when she finds it, problematic. But like,
Bad.
it was only $2,000
Right, and then where did she get the $2,000? Why did she have to wait over the
because
weekend?
the banks were closed. So she needed the cash for the truck because she wanted to get it before it was gone.
She wanted to get it now.
Because Toby was like, oh, I'm sure he's already sold it.
Right. Mm-hmm. So she can get him out of the... See, you don't have to work at Jason's anymore, which he's going to continue working at Jason's. Although we didn't get a follow-up on that.
No.
But my hunch is.
Well, I mean, Toby's going to work wherever Toby can take off his shirt. And I think that's an important plot point.
Got fired from so many union contract sites because he kept popping his shirt off.
You know, someone asked to see his abs. He showed them and they said, you're out of here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not union protective gear.
Yeah. But yeah, that's why she sold it. But I just think, I mean, I guess technically Arya's made the worst decisions.
Just one.
One,
but I mean, that's not really like completely on her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Because she's 16.
She's a child.
So, you know,
that's
more on the groomer.
The adult involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Emily didn't even go through with her decision and comes out to get her.
Yeah.
Shall we jump into it?
It's Spencer for sure. All right. Yes. Let's jump into it. Okay. Episode 25. My name is Trouble. My name is Trouble. There we go. Cold open with the friends all at the movies. Spencer talks to friends about Melissa sneaking out and leaving the room to talk on the phone when she's at home. Emily wonders why Jason would help Ian, and Spencer's like, it's Jason, okay? That's enough of a reason. He was just drunk. They were drinking buddies, and he was just drunk all the time. Emily thought Spencer said he was sober. Jason was sober now, and Spencer's like, I didn't ask him to take a pee test. Spencer then notices a hooded figure in the back of the movie theater and tries to get the friends' attention. When they turn around, it's gone. But when they turn back forward, the screen, the reel jumps and the screen flickers. And then the hooded figure appears in front of them and jumps on them. But then Spencer wakes up to Melissa looking for her ring on the couch, which Spencer is sleeping on. Spencer helps her look around as Melissa's phone ring. Melissa answers the phone and rushes out of the room to talk on it. Spencer follows after her upstairs, but only hears a muffled conversation. Hannah walks downstairs to both of her parents in the kitchen. Her dad offers to drive her to school, and Hannah declines because Mona drives her. Her dad meant Tom. Tom mentions that he can drive her next week or the week after, whenever. And Hannah's like, how long are you going to be in town? And he's like, well, I've got hotel work I need to see to and want to be around. So we're assuming he owns the hotel.
I don't think about Tom.
Okay.
I mean, he's relevant.
Yeah.
I personally have not once pondered what Tom does for a living or why he exists.
Yeah. I have all sorts of questions about work this week. Tom, not that it matters. Tom,
I think, you know what, though? You just want to know.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Looking at other career paths, you want to figure out what you want to do.
We'll get to it later, but
How much do you like wearing a shirt?
Yeah. if you're gonna work construction. But we'll get to it later. But like, what was Ella doing before she worked at an art studio? Was she like a full-time mom when she was living at the house, but also like worked at the art studio? I'm just trying to remember the transition to her now being a teacher.
Yeah, I think she was basically like stay-at-home momming, and then also like now that the kids were older was like working, was doing art, was an artist,
Right.
and was also like working at an art studio.
Perfect. Okay.
Probably like a docent or something.
Right. And then when it seemed like she might have to be on her own for a while, she started pursuing subbing at the school and then is now taking over as a full position. Okay. Cool. Not that it matters. Tom leaves and Hannah asks why her mom and dad are suddenly getting along together, and Hannah wonders why like Ashley's going out of her way for him, and Ashley's like, well, he has his moments, and I'm not like completely on his side or anything, but like people can change, and just because like people might do something to hurt us, like doesn't mean we delete their phone number. Ashley, that's a little too on the nose.
I wonder what that's referring to.
I know.
Maybe like that scene where Hannah deleted Caleb's number? No.
My favorite thing about this, Hannah refuses to budge. There's like, if like, in universe of the show, there's all these like coincidences telling her to forgive Caleb, and she does not.
That's, I think, my favorite thing about Hannah. Hannah makes a decision, and she's like the most loyal.
Yes.
She is absolutely the most loyal. Later in the show, there's a breakdown about like the girls are like, why did Allison pick me? Like each one individually. And I'm pretty sure like Hannah's is like loyalty, like Hufflepuffy. Like
it's great. Banner week for Hannah. We'll get to that later. The friends all meet up secretly in the girls' bathroom. Emily has a letter from Danby, and it's the maybe letter that the guy was referring to, that it's like, oh, you keep up what you're doing and maybe we'll have a spot for you. Arya asks when they can all meet up later, and Arya says like, hey, like, we got to work it around like my afternoon that I'm starting a class at Hollis. The friend all asks if isn't Jackie around? Or, like, is she going to be teaching the class? Are you stalking Fitz? And Arya's like, well, just bumping into him on campus will just be a nice bonus. A person walks into the bathroom and they all scatter. Spencer sees Toby in the hall, and she's like, hey, what are you doing around? And he's like, I'm dropping off paperwork for my GED. Toby's like, hey, and good news, I'm starting a new job. And Spencer's like, yay, like, congratulations. He's like, hey, I'm working for Jason. And Spencer's face fall, and he's like, I knew you would not like this. And Spencer's like, you can't work for him. Toby's like, I need the money for a truck, like, so I can get work. I can't get those like other jobs out there because people with like tools and trucks, like, to be able to get to the job sites, are getting hired. Toby then shows her a photo of a truck he's been looking at on his flip phone. Toby says, not Toby, Spencer says, don't go inside Jason's house. And Toby's like, I won't. No, I promise I won't. And he kisses her and walks away as Spencer's sitting there kind of stewing.
Also, important thing to note is all of the children in the school are staring at them.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for noting that.
Toby is very much a marked man.
He's a witch. Hannah sees Lucas and stops him to talk. Lucas returns for a few episodes. Lucas says he's giving Caleb a ride to the hardware store, so he can't like hang out for lunch. And Hannah asks, hey, like, I didn't know you guys were friends now. And Lucas is like, well, he's sleeping at my house for the time being. Like it's, he figures out what else he's gonna do. Hannah asks if Lucas wants to hang later, and Lucas is like, well, I have like yearbook and the deadline's coming up. And Lucas like goes to sleep, and then turns around and is like, hey, like, why are you not hanging out with your friends? Hannah's like, we're having some time apart. And Lucas asks if it was her idea or their parents, and Hannah's like, what do you think? So then Lucas is like, okay, we can hang out later. Arya and Fitz grab coffee on campus. Arya asks if Fitz misses the high school. I was almost saying going to high school. Not quite. If he misses the high school, and he says, well, I only miss you. And Arya's like, oh, it's like nice being out in the open. Isn't this nice? And Fitz is like, well, we do have to be careful because your dad does teach around here. But they stop and kiss anyway as Jackie is across from Quad, sees them and stares at them in gross shock.
Yeah, because an
Weird.
adult man that you dated is kissing a teenager that you know is a teenager because you went to a faculty event at her.
Yes. Mm-hmm. A faculty member's daughter. We are all Jackie. Arya arrives at pottery class and sees that Jenna is in the class. Arya freezes up watching Jenna put together a vase and just generally having a good time.
Well, and also, I mean, like, what is every girl's immediate reaction when they see Jenna?
Good God.
They don't do fight or flight. They only go to freeze.
Freeze.
Except for Hannah.
Hannah strikes.
That was one time and she deserved it.
Down goes Jenna. Down goes Jenna. Spencer walks home from practice and stares in Jason's window and sees a figure moving. Jason comes up from behind her and surprises her. And he's like, hey, like, are you around here looking for Toby? You left an hour ago. And he's like, is something wrong? And Spencer's like, I thought you were inside. And Jason's like, well, why is that? And he's like, aren't you the only one that, like, lives there? Jason's like, yes, I am. He turns to leave. A figure moves in the window, but Spencer looks up too late and sees an empty window. Spencer talks to Emily on the phone about the window incident, and Emily tries to talk her down, being like, you just probably saw something. It was the curtains moving. Even though, it's always funny when you, like, see that, and then the characters in the show are like, you were imagining something, and it's just like, no, this is very clearly a person. And Spencer isn't listening. Emily's like, hey, you should talk to Toby about this. And Spencer's like, hell no, are you kidding? Like, he's going to barge in there like a hero. We all nod our head, yes. They hang up. Spencer stares across the yard at Jason's house and sees Jason in the window. We get a flashback. Spencer and Emily discuss the party that's happening next door. De Laurentiis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
De Laurentiis.
De Laurentiis' house. Allie comes over asking to crash at Spencer's house, and Spencer's like, oh, like, definitely you could stay here. Like, are Jason's friends, like, hassling you? And Allie's like, he doesn't have any friends. He just has idiots using him for beer. Allie is like, you know what? I should call Grandma. And I, like, he's been counting on that money. And, like, if I say one thing to Grandma, she'll write him out of the will. Spencer's like, yeah, you're welcome to stay. And, like, Allie thanks her. And then Allie, like, walks over to the kitchen sink, stares at the window. And we can see that she's, like, holding herself back from crying. Spencer walks over and asks if she's okay, to which Allie tries to, like, snap out of it and, like, cover, and is like, oh, I was just thinking about my grandma. Back in the present, Emily is packing up her things with her mom as the phone rings. As the phone rings. And so, like, Emily tries to cover with her mom. It's like, oh, it's Paige. I'll answer it in a little bit. Like, no worries. And Pam is like, okay, whatever, and leaves the room. Emily then picks up the call, and it's from Spencer. Spencer talks to her about the sleepover night that we just saw in the flashback and thinks that something bad was going down between Jason and Allie. Spencer says maybe Allie was blackmailing Ian and Jason. And where was Jason the night Allie died anyway? Hannah works in yearbook with Lucas. Hannah asks Lucas about a new girl in yearbook and badgers him a bunch about her as he's super embarrassed about it. Like, come on, I'm not into her. Like, typical teenage crush sort of thing.
She has the manic pixie dream girl haircut.
She got the bangs.
Mm-hmm.
And Hannah continues to badger him. It's like, why'd you make a move on the girl? Like, blah, blah, blah. And Lucas is like, no, I'm, like, ugly. I'm an idiot. I'm a nerd. And she's like, no, you should totally, like, go, like, make a move. What's stopping you? And he eventually breaks saying, you of all people know my batting average. Melissa tears apart the house, looking for a wedding ring. Spencer asks her to sleep inside the house instead of the barn because, like, I don't like sleeping alone. And our parents are apparently gone for, like, a month.
They're just always gone.
The Hastings are just out. Spencer asks does Melissa understand, like, why I get scared? Or, like, why she gets scared? Does Melissa understand why I get scared? And was wondering if Melissa would protect her over someone who's not here. Obviously alluding to Ian. Spencer then talks about a time like there was a girl like at like school when I was young that like hassled her and smacked her down, and then Melissa came there the next day and talked the bully down at school and was like, "Don't you ever touch her again, like or I'll ruin your life," pretty much.
Well, how? Wait, that age gap. Hold on.
5 years, something like that, right? Wait, she's 16. No, it's like 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been in like a combined elementary middle school, so it would be
Yeah.
like her going up to like a second or third grader when she's like, no, that
I
doesn't
thought
make
she said
sense.
she was older. Yeah, I don't. Maybe she just came to school and did it.
Right? Yeah, I can see Melissa doing that. I'm gonna drop you off at school today. Like, show me the girl. Melissa's like, I don't remember that at all. And I'm going
A
through a
10-year-old and a 17-year-old getting the title.
Exactly. Listen here, you runt. And Melissa's like, I don't remember that at all. I'm going through a lot right now. And she's like, don't make me choose between you and my husband, Spencer. Arya and Fitz discuss Jenna being in the pottery class. Arya asks, like, why she can't escape high school. And Fitz, ever so delicately, says, maybe because you're still in it.
Sir, you see the
Yes.
writing on the wall. The plot.
Luckily, this is the last scene with him this week. Fitz said, and he even gives some advice. Fitz says maybe the universe is putting you two together so you can get past it. And he's like, if you can make things right with Jenna, why not do it? Good advice.
Yeah, but he knows she blinded her.
Yes.
Well, her friends did.
Uh-huh.
Friend did.
Yes. But I mean, like...
Does he think Jenna wants to be her friend?
No, but yeah. That...
Apologize.
Yes. That's all he's trying to say. Maybe you
but
won't...
he doesn't say that.
He's like, it's like, put the past behind you.
Yes. But that assumes that Jenna wants to put the past behind them.
Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah, I was just taking it. I'm like, oh yeah, she should like try and apologize. Instead, just anything. Anything else. Spencer makes sad, lonely toast. Finds that the toaster is unplugged and sees Melissa's ring behind the toaster.
Wait, real quick. I just gotta ask, do you make non-lonely toast? And what does that mean?
Well, she's alone and she's been crying a little bit, so there's little tears on there, and you just kind of look down sadly at the toast.
I feel like that's dangerous for that type of toaster.
It was unplugged, luckily. Hannah walks downstairs. You can make all kinds of other toast. Hannah walks downstairs to see her dad on the phone, angry. Tom explains that Isabel was on the phone and they're having disagreements over the scale of the wedding and that things are tense between them. I'm sure it's just about the scale of the wedding. Hannah asks if Mom knows that, and Tom says, she picks up on things very fast. Arya, Hannah, and Emily are in a car, and Arya counsels, they're just sitting in the car in between periods or something. Arya counsels Hannah to stay out of her parents' marriage. I tried that, don't do it, just let them figure it out. Hannah doesn't say it in the moment, but she goes, hell no. Emily shows them a letter saying that if Emily stays MVP, she'll get a full ride scholarship. Their friends are all excited that Emily gets to stay. Yay, you get to go to Danby. And then Emily's like, yeah, if they actually wanted that. And then Hannah's like, wait a minute, Emily, did you write this? And Emily kind of solemnly shakes her head. Hannah is overjoyed. She's like, yes, this is amazing. This is the best thing you've ever done. I'm so proud of you, Emily. And then Arya's like, what is wrong with you? She can't do this. Hannah, what do you mean? And Hannah's like, oh, you're the one, says the person taking art class with Jenna. And it's there has to be another way. And Emily's like, there isn't. Hannah, the best friend, the worst friend.
I love it.
It's so good. Shirtless Toby works hard for the money at Jason's house.
That's right.
Uh-huh. And the women of the street are still yelling at him as they go by, boo you, but they wait a little longer before
But
they
they're
leave.
not really on the street, remember? Because that's the whole thing is Jason wants to put up a fence.
I know.
He's got to protect them.
That's right. Protect what? Or what is the not letting out?
Or who?
Mm-hmm. Jason asks if Toby wants a break, and Toby's like, no. Jason's like, that's against union rules. Jason asks if people are still giving Toby a hard time, and he's like, I always believed you. they hear a noise and Jason, like from the woods, and Jason asks, "Hey, is that you, Melissa?" But then it's Spencer, and Spencer's like, "Why would you think it's Melissa?" And Jason's like, "Well, she's been coming over here a few times because the mailman keeps giving my mail to like you guys." Jason steps away to let them talk. Spencer asks if Toby will finally quit. Can you like just not do this? He's like, I got a huge cash advance from him. He's paying way more. Also, he's not running me out of town.
He's weirdly nice to me,
I know.
and that doesn't happen often.
You see the pitchfork? That's actually for working here. Spencer asks if it's enough for the truck, and Toby has a very defeatist attitude. The truck's not gonna wait for me. It's gonna be gone by the time I have the money, and then the jobs, and they're not just gonna wait for me either. Jason comes out of the house with a huge trash bag, then comically drops it. It opens to reveal bloody gauzes, and he's like, "Oh, I cut myself." Arya has a hard time in pottery class, just staring at, or like just a hard time making, the vase, the clay. Jenna gets up and knocks things over. To which the teacher, he's like, "Hey, what's your name again? What's your name? You with the thing over there, the new girl." And Arya's like, "Anita." But then another student's like, "I'll go help the girl that like dropped things everywhere." Lucas,
Why send the girl who's halfway across the room from her instead of the person next to her?
It's actually that guy's farther away. She's the closest one. So then,
no, Jenna's on the far end.
I thought it was closer to Arya because then the guy to go to Jenna crosses in front of Arya to go to her.
I thought it was the other.
So then the guy's like looking at her going like, "Oh, okay, I'll help her."
No, I just have bad memory and space then.
I mean, there could have been other students in the class closer to her for sure, but the guy that ends up helping her is farther away and is kind of like looking at Anita.
Oh.
Yeah. Lucas stares at the new girl in yearbook, and Hannah walks over to talk to the new girl. Hannah talks up Lucas's photos in the yearbook. And it's like, "Oh yeah, he's so good at the look at all these. Oh my god." And it's like, he like sells these online, and she's like, "Why would you sell another?" Why would you sell high school yearbook photos online? And it's like, "Oh, people just like think they're so great." And it's like, I would love to date Lucas, but I just can't compete. There's like all the girls, like he has this pick of the litter, like all these girls are just like dying for him. Love it. Spencer drops the ring, Melissa's ring off at a pawnbroker's for a cash advance. Broker's like, "Hey, is anyone gonna come in here giving me trouble if this is missing?" Like, "I don't want no trouble." And Spencer's like, "No, it's mine. I just need cash until Monday." Spencer then leaves with $2,000, and we get a POV shot of someone watching her from across the street. Lucas stops Hannah to ask what she said to Danielle, the girl from yearbook. When I finally got her name. Lucas asks what Hannah's motive is this time, because the last time you did something nice or whatever, I was covered to break up with Sean. Hannah's like, "I'm just trying to help you out, and I'm sorry for the dance. That was a really big mistake. I'm really sorry about that. I don't want to be judged for my biggest mistake. People can change and grow." And Lucas is like, "Well, okay, thank you then."
Thanks, third act Hannah.
Exactly, yeah. Emily puts the letter in the envelope and seals it. Pam interrupts her, so she hides in a book really quick. Pam then brings in a box of baby items, and Pam is sad. And Emily's like, "Hey, are you okay?" And Pam's like, "Must have been so hard for you to hide who you were, and to think that I wouldn't still love you no matter what." Emily says, "Well, I don't feel that way anymore." And Pam says, "I know, but it wasn't easy getting here." Pam says, "Finish up studying, and you know what? We'll go out to dinner," and then leaves. Emily grabs the letter out of the book, rips it up, and throws it away. Spencer comes barreling down the road in a new, restored big-ass Chevy truck. Toby is shocked to see the truck and is very happy. And then when she gets out, Toby embraces her and says he loves her so much. And Spencer's like, "I wanted to say that first," and they make out. And then Jason watches from the porch. He just kind of steps out and goes like, "Those kids."
You make it sound like he has his binoculars sitting on the porch.
Creepy, can. Yeah, it's
no,
he
just behind a bush.
He just walks out and is like, "Those crazy kids."
Kids are in love.
Mm-hmm. Hannah sees her parents having wine and getting along outside. in the little like patio courtyard area of their house. Hannah then hears a text notification and sees it's on her dad's phone, and it's from Isabel saying she's so sorry and wish she could take it all back. Call me, like, let's put this all behind us. Hannah then makes the insane decision to grab the phone and erase the text message. Hannah. This is so we already have. So we had. Let's count the bad decision. We had Aria first saying like not saying anything in the pottery class and then giving a fake name. 2 is Spencer. Spencer's is like 3. Taking Melissa's wedding ring, going to the pawnbrokers for cash, then using that cash to then buy Toby's truck. And then 5, Hannah erasing the text message from her dad's new wife. Good times. Jenna is in pottery class with like Aria and Jenna are like kind of like the last ones there. It's in like kind of like it's gotten dark out. She calls Anita over and is like, "Hey, can you like help me clean up?" And Jenna is like super excited to see like how the pottery turns out and asks Aria to light a candle if she can light a candle in like the pottery she put together. It's kind of like this candle holder. Jenna then asks Aria to turn the lights off, and it does. Jenna then spins the candle around on like the little turntable and stares at it. She looks up and asks Aria what she sees. And Aria stays claimed up. Jenna says, like, I used to swim a lot and like would swim in this lake, and I could see the reflections of the light like coming through the lake, like kind of like the like dispersed light, like as it like kind of enters the water, and it reminds me of that. That's why I wanted to build this so it could remind me of that. And she cries about the memory of it and that she's like not going to be able to see anymore. Very emotional scene. This moves Aria enough to speak. To which Aria is like, it's beautiful and kind of like being underwater, and then continues to keep talking, and Jenna interrupts her and is like, Aria, is that you? Aria's like, yeah, it's me. And Jenna's like, yells at her to blow out the candle and leave.
1, turn on the light before you blow out the candle, girl. You don't know. I know. Like in theory, she's probably not going to hurt you. But like if you're that afraid of Jenna, you don't blow out the candle without turning on the light.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Spencer reads at home when she hears a noise. She hears Melissa say downstairs that she's going to make sure that Spencer is asleep. Spencer calls Emily. We cut to Emily's room as the phone's ringing, and Pam like walks in and says, "Hey, we got a letter from Danby." Emily is shocked, and Pam opens it and is like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you got it. If you stay MVP, you'll get into Danby and you'll get a scholarship," verbatim to what like Emily's like note had written. Pam is excited and Emily is freaking out. As Pam leaves, Emily digs through her trash and instead finds a note from A that says, You can't play cat and mouse if the mouse moves to Texas. I need you here, Em. Congrats." The other 3 friends meet up, and Hannah wonders about Aria's bad play with Jenna. Aria says, "I totally rattled Jenna if she is A. This is awful." Like, Spencer sees Melissa wander out from the barn, and the friends all go to follow. The friends follow Melissa as she speaks to someone in a car that they don't recognize. Suddenly, we all remember that Ren exists because he gets out of the car, and he gives her a paper bag. They all hypothesize that there's like painkiller drugs in the paper bag, like for Ian, and like that like Melissa's gonna take it to Ian, and they almost get caught watching. They like find the bushes. They don't get seen, and Ren drives off, and the 3 friends see a figure in the window of Jason's house. We then cut to a POV shot of a gloved hand buying the ring from the pawnbroker, and the pawnbroker's like, "I had a hunch it wasn't hers. Enjoy." Done.
Okay. Why is Hannah's dad sticking around?
Yeah, Hannah,
Mom, why are you here?
Something tells me that when the going gets rough, you leave. Then it's like, well, maybe I can go back to my old family.
Yeah, but the going's rough in that household. Was that really a good move?
No. Even without whatever you did to that, like leaving the home, like which is a pretty big thing. They've got a lot of things going on. But I mean, I guess he wouldn't know about the forgery and the stealing of the money and all
The
that.
Marin women are
But-
very busy.
Yes, they are. But
They're boss babes, if you will.
exactly. But me thinks that for whatever reason things aren't working out with his new wife, and he's like, maybe I can like try and like squeeze my way back into my old one because they need me there. I know.
Gross.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's why I'm saying Hannah's is such a bad decision. It's like, well, one, I mean, don't be meddling in other people's affairs, one. And two, this man's just gonna, when the going get roughs again, he's gonna be out. He's gonna be back at Isabel's house. Back with your new sister.
Or his new Hannah.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
The sister in question. So
Is Tom sus in any way other than just being a bad dad?
no, he's just a bad dad and a bad husband.
Is Byron sus in any way other than being a bad dad?
No, for me, the adults are kind of like in this like other realm of just not another realm. That makes it sound like it's like some other, like it's unattached to the plot. That they're in just like a separate track. It's not about the A mystery. Like the parents play the part of the teen drama and like life stuff, so they play on those like the teen drama-ness of it, of
Yes.
like the unreliable parents, so that like
Emotionally
so that-
unavailable or whatever it may be. The trauma instigators.
right, the untrustworthy like people, so like you can't trust your parents with that sort of thing. And also like this is dealing a lot with like teen problems of like, what do you do around like divorce? Like, how do you have a relationship with your family? So I think that's where like Tom stands in. Byron kind of stands in because it didn't really go there, but that was a similar thing of like, what do you do when your like parent like betrays your trust like that? And although they took that in a way that I was really not expecting. So I don't count them in as like the A mystery. The parents are there as the like
They're the B plot.
yeah, exactly, to guide the teen drama along while the A is going, and also to give reasons why like the teens have to do things on their own.
Got it. Okay.
So like right now of them like separating all the kids. Like
Yes.
that, like Tom doesn't play directly in that, but the
We'll
parents
talk
do.
about that in the next episode too, because the therapist is like, I'm sure you guys are still talking anyway. And I'm like,
I know.
"Then
Why are you doing that?
this was your idea, but we'll get into the next episode. That's not in this episode. So then I did make a note to talk about Arya's hair feathers. We may have gotten rid of the pink hair, but we can tell the year. The year is 2011-ish, 2012, because she's got hair feathers. I kind of loved hair feathers. I thought they were a great time.
Because you just kind of like, they just braid in and then they like, no?
So there's like, and they're similar to certain types of hair extensions. Some hair extensions have little clips and stuff like that. So the hair feathers, I mean, they might have used like some clip ones for her. Because,
Right,
but
because
in
she got to
theory,
change them out.
how they were done is like you grabbed like a little section of hair,
Mhm.
and then they have this like little like almost like bead clamp thing that you slide over a small section of hair with it, and you like plier it down so that then it stays in and it's like anchored in.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually you open up the little metal thing, and then that's how you get them out.
Oh, that's wild.
Mm-hmm. At least that's how it was done
So they'd
on
have
my
to
head.
plier them into the like the root of the hair. pretty
Well,
much.
not like the root, just like a clump of hair. Like
Clump
you
of
just,
hair. I see.
you
So
do it almost like a like if you made like a metal bead
right.
and slid it over and then like clamped it down with the feather on it.
So instead of like a beret clip, you are just clamping down on a thick thing of hair.
Yeah, you just like you got a little bit of hair that's closed
Cool.
in on. Yeah.
Yeah. You're
I-
welcome, everyone.
I believe that's how they worked. That's how the ones I had worked.
Got it.
I'm not saying there weren't other ways. I have no
Mhm.
idea. I also did not put them in myself.
Arya's fashion accessories.
Exactly.
And we get to revisit the pink hair next episode too. We'll save that for then.
Mm-hmm. Arya and Jason are a fun concept that we can play with.
I fucking love it.
Speaking of Jason, why would he not just hire like a group of contractors to do this work? They have money.
No, it doesn't make sense at all unless he's trying to use scabs, non-union work. But
Or is he hoping he'll find something as they dig?
but why? So like, and how would that be different than if a contract person did it?
Toby's going to tell him?
You don't think the contract people tell you?
There's a lot
Hey,
of people moving around.
Mr. De Laurentiis.
What if it's sus? You can't buy off a group of contractors.
Oh, but you think like if Toby finds a body that he can buy him off?
Uh-huh. Me and Spencer are playing the same game here, and you're just not having any fun with it.
I don't know. Well, so I don't. I mean, I guess like.
What was the dog digging for, Brenton?
Yeah. You know what? You could be onto something because Toby is ostracized. So then it's just like,
who's gonna believe Toby?
Exactly.
Well, and why does Jason want to win over Toby's favor?
I know.
Why is he letting Toby work for him? Why is he helping Toby?
See me over here when I have Jason as the black hoodie and like a force of like trying to figure out like things for Allie for good. It's just like, you know, camaraderie. Like he also feels like an outsider because even though he's not getting like, you know, rocks thrown at him,
he's the brother of the girl who got murdered.
Exactly. So that's why I think, you know, they're getting together that way of like, hey, you know, I understand Toby.
So if you had to put Jason on like a good to evil scale, you'd put him on the good?
Yeah, toward the good, but like more, what is it?
Neutral?
Like chaotic good.
Oh, I was just thinking like one scale.
Yeah, I know, but I was like trying to think because it's like good, but the sense of
he's going rogue.
Exactly, good in the. Okay, so if that scale would align to the protagonists that we have, like the liars sense of good. I don't think he's fully on that side of the scale. So that's why I say like more chaotic because like he's not going to always align with what they want.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
And,
you know, there's a range certainly outside of like what the liars thing, which I think we were really getting the liars living up to their namesake in these episodes.
Yes. Yeah. We cannot possibly, I mean, I'm sure someone has somewhere on the internet, keep a list of all of the lies that are told on Pretty Little Liars. But like,
sure,
there's a lot of them. Lucas and Caleb's besties, little roomie situation.
I know. We get a glimpse of it next episode, but it is very funny.
Yeah, I know. I love it. I think it's cute.
Yeah.
But do you think it's realistic
to continue?
Or do you think that like it makes sense that Lucas would do this for Hannah for no ulterior motive?
I'd see. This is where I was like, I don't know, but I don't know if it's like an A thing. But like, I mean, it kind of going out of his way to do it. But
do you trust Lucas?
Yeah, for now. For the most part, I don't know if his like, I feel bad about myself nerd is like completely an act.
Okay.
But I don't really have like much.
But you're hesitant.
Yes, I am hesitant because mostly just because his actions are really going out of his way to like be nice to Hannah and do things for Hannah. So it's like that's like back in a few episodes where it's like, oh, Lucas is off to go pick up Caleb, and I was like, what business is that of yours? So that's why I'm hesitant. I don't have anything else other than it's just like it's kind of weird. I mean, Hannah helps him out these episodes. Hopefully Danielle is not in bad situations.
But he is suspicious of that. Do you think that indicates that he is a suspicious person, or do you think he is just suspicious of Hannah because of who she is and her history?
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. And I should clarify. Yeah, the suspicious of Hannah.
College teacher Ezra ditched the sweater vest. Did you notice that? I noticed that.
You noticed that? Yeah. I am a professor now.
So I'm more casual.
Exactly. Yeah. I wear a button up. Also, what a beautiful world we live in where he can have a full-time job at a university.
Yeah, I don't know if he's an adjunct. I assume he's an adjunct based on
got it.
But also, okay, so let's say that you're like, yeah, you know what? Like we are free to move about our lives because now I'm not your teacher anymore. Like but do you not think that people talk at the school? Ezra and Arya played this game of like unintentional cat and mouse with the town.
Yeah.
Where they're like not even playing the game.
No.
And you're just
doing
waiting.
It in the most obvious areas. But I mean, so we don't agree with this. But we know that it is technically legal for them to be dating.
But how did they meet? If they're like, how are they telling people about this? How they met is still not okay.
No, well, it's even their relationship currently.
No, that's
not
sorry. That's right. How they met is actually. I mean, I guess it's okay because like he didn't know. You really think he didn't know how old she was?
I know. I'm obsessed about that.
Are you?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, like, if I'm always keeping it in my back pocket that he could be A, because then that plays into that. But yeah, that. I mean, that's like.
Do you think we've like met A? Sorry.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But it's like a weird academia thing, especially in college too, of like professors dating students, and that's just like something that just gets discussed, and with like whispers and stuff like that. It's like, or people just are out and out do it, yeah, and that's just.
Let's talk about a little show called Gilmore Girls and a character called Paris Geller.
Right, in that one they're more cagey, but I don't even that happens in real life. So people might talk, but it's just weirdly the way the system's set up, and it's just kind of okay.
It's just in particular her age that is the issue.
Yes.
I say that like it's small. It's not small. It's a very big piece.
Yes.
Okay.
So
that beats into
we've covered before their public meetings and makeouts.
Bad move. What do you think Jackie's gonna do?
Yeah. She's gonna confront Fitz about it.
You think she's gonna confront Fitz, or do you think she's gonna go
directly to
Byron?
No, she's not gonna go directly to Byron.
Okay.
We're not gonna go nuclear that yet.
Because they're all in the same department.
Yes. Once Byron finds out, then like that goes like the relationship goes absolutely like that's DEFCON 4. That is public. That is like massively big problem. I don't think we're there yet to the relationship to completely blowing up that way.
Do you think they're gonna go public with their relationship
at some point? Yeah,
but
it's not gonna be of their volition.
Okay. And when do you think that'll happen?
We got 7 seasons.
Well, there's a time jump too at the end. The last season and a half is a time jump.
I don't know. I don't have any good guesses on this. I'll just throw a dart at season 3.
Okay.
They'll dance around it some more, but of people finding out, and I think that's where Jackie's gonna play in. It's just like you need to like fess up about this. I can't believe you're doing this. That's where I think that's gonna
go. Who's in the De Laurentiis house with Jason?
I know. Jason could have said, "Oh, that's my buddy."
But who? Because it's a small town.
I know, but it was so funny. Like, the easiest cover could have been like, "Oh yeah, that's my friend Tom."
Yeah, he came into town to help me move.
Yeah, exactly.
From college, he'll be gone.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess Garrett.
Garrett, okay.
Garrett's been off screen.
Or has he?
Exactly. Moving about in the windows. I'm gonna guess. He's not around this week, but he's playing stuff in the background. We know he's doing moves. We don't know exactly what, so I'm gonna guess Garrett.
Okay. Why is Melissa not confirming that she has Spencer's back and pretending like she doesn't have this memory from their childhood?
Because she wants to be mad at Spencer, and
does Melissa have Spencer's back?
No.
Really? Okay.
I don't think so. Not in that sort of way. And they play. Okay. Do I wait till Theory Corner to get into the Melissa stuff? I will
Put a
wait.
Pin in it.
I will wait more on that because it'll tie into next episode too.
Okay.
But I do not think she has Spencer's back, and there is good evidence this episode, both episodes, that my Melissa's A theory.
Do you think
finding the ring all of a sudden?
Do you think Melissa put the ring behind the toaster?
Yeah.
Why was it behind? Just because that's a good spot to hide it?
Test.
A test for Spencer.
Yeah. Spencer failed all the way to the pawnbrokers. She's like, "Oh yeah, you have my back."
Well, Spencer never said she had Melissa's back.
Yeah, that's true. So Spencer's asking for a lot then. This is why I love Spencer. She makes the worst decisions to like the 11th degree.
Okay, and then you already covered my last thing, which
And then she is also the ones that is always on the forefront of things of SOS, SOS. She's the only one sending SOS texts because she's always getting into shit.
She knows too much and nothing at the same time.
Exactly.
You already recapped everyone's oopsie daisies this week. That was gonna be my last question.
Oopsie daisy check-in.
I was like, let's recap all the bad decisions, the oopsie daisies.
Yep.
But you already did that. So shall we move on to episode 4?
Before we do that, I just want to say I'm very glad we are, at least for the moment, away from Jenna being about wanting to get Toby back and just about how right she is to hate all of them. She is in the right so much to hate them. She's going to
throw the firework.
I know.
But they could have ratted out Allison.
She doesn't know also.
Oh.
Arya can talk to her and it's like, I'm so sorry that we are complicit in this action, and does it. And instead, just like Jenna has this beautiful moment where she's like, she doesn't know who this person is and breaks down remembering about like that she won't be able to see, and a sense memory of like even being able to swim again. Without like say like potential supervision and stuff, and like how much harder that is going to be for her to do. And Arya has given her a fake name and is pretending to go along with it. Yes, I would absolutely hate them. They are the worst. I mean, Jenna has also done rad things. This is why I think it sucks that we get like her like being like, well, I could tell them like you like force yourself on me, like the fake rape plot stuff, because it's like, damn it, there's like good nuggets of something here of just this person that is like being pushed too far by these people.
So is Jenna upstaging Melissa on your favorite menace list?
Yes, absolutely. Well, no, because like Jenna's not doing anything this episode. Like things are happening to her and she is just like, my God.
That's fair. That's fair.
Can I get a break from you? You're scared to be in this class with me. I'm scared to be in this class with you.
That's fair. Good God.
Oh, it's the worst. Which is why I love it. Episode 26. Blind dates. Open on the pawnbroker. And Spencer coming back for the ring. The broker says he's surprised to see her. And Spencer hands over the money and the receipt. We then transition to the other three friends waiting outside. They all discuss Ren meeting with Melissa and Emily being... Oh, God, why did I write this? It must have been autocorrected. Emily being trapped by like the lie with the admittance. It's being trapped by the law. Jesus Christ, Brenton. Pawnbroker drops
Wait, you should just have to read your notes verbatim.
Pawnbroker drops off a horseshoe to Spencer. Oh, that's clear. The pawnbroker drops off a horseshoe to Spencer. Spencer says, "What the hell is this? Get me my goddamn ring." Pawnbroker's like, "Oh, like this is like actually what it was for your receipt. What do you mean? And if like you are upset about it, why don't you call the cops? Here's my phone." And then Spencer goes and leaves, and the friends all discuss Spencer getting hoisted outside when they get a text from A that says, "Just my luck. Diamonds are a girl's best friend." Spencer looks around and sees a billboard with eyes watching them. Not too dissimilar to The Great Gatsby. Arya is collecting her things. It's not actually watching them. It just has eyes and then, made to see like it's watching them. Like The Great Gatsby. Arya is collecting her things for school as... I could probably explain that. It's not like Scooby-Doo that the eyes are moving. Like, don't...
Ruh-roh, Rebby.
Exactly. Zoink, Scooby. I got a bad feeling, man. Arya is collecting... I'll try next time.
Maybe you should try for a friend.
Yeah. Ooh.
You never pictured yourself as a friend. That is his name, right?
Fred? No, it was just the stage mom talking me down. Like, I don't think maybe you're meant to be that part.
Have you ever thought maybe you're more of a Scooby? Scrappy dude.
I am short. Arya is collecting her things for school as Ella arrives in to announce breakfast and coffee. Arya is excited, and Ella's like, yeah, it's like things are getting back to normal. Mike then leaves his room, and Ella's like, hey, there's breakfast downstairs, buddy. And he's just like, I'll grab it later. And it's like, well, almost everything. Arya talks about how bad it is not seeing her friends, and Ella's like, well, we're doing this because it's what's best for you. And Ella asks, like, how do I look? And Arya's like, why are you asking? And she's like, don't you remember? It's my first day as a full-time teacher. And Arya's like, oh, great. What class are you taking over? And she's like, Fitz's class. Arya's like, oh, wait, yeah, that's great. You're going to do great. Spencer sees Melissa rummaging through the drawers. Spencer asks if she's going somewhere because Melissa has a passport in her hand. Melissa says, it's Ian's passport and I need it for the insurance claim on my ring. Spencer says, it'll turn up, and Melissa says, I'd rather find my husband. Hannah passive-aggressively talks to Ashley about not hanging out with her friends. On the aggressive side, but, Ashley says, you're the only friend who hasn't had a solo session in therapy because I talked to Mrs. Hastings, in between Mrs. Hastings being out of the country. And you should go to therapy, and you're going to go after school. And Hannah's like, oh, fine. Emily pecks her bag and finds the original note from Danby saying that it's like the maybe letter. Pam comes into Emily's room with a box full of Danby swag. And Emily asks who sent this. And Pam is like, it must have been the scout, of course. Emily sees a note in the box that says, so excited to have you on our A team. And A is underlined. Lucas sadly picks at his lunch, and Hannah walks over. Hannah's like, what's wrong? And it's like, it's Danielle. And it's like, I thought things were going well. He's like, it's because it is going well. Ever since it's been going right, my stomach's been messed up and my game's off. And Hannah's like, you've never had game. Needed a friend like Hannah. Hannah says, it'll be fun. Don't worry. Lucas then says, okay, but you have to come. And Hannah's like, what? No, that's weird. I'm not going to like third wheel it. And Lucas is like, okay, well, then you bring Caleb. You have to do this because you got me into this mess, and so you have to see me through it. Something tells me the boys in their bunk beds were talking about this last night. I've got a plan. Like, you'll go to Hannah.
Do you think Caleb came up with this plan or Lucas?
Caleb. And Lucas is like, I don't know, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
From your extensive boys and bunk bed sleepovers.
Exactly. Do you think she likes me, man? Lucas, you still awake? Ella stops Arya in the hall after seeing her with her friends. And Arya's like, we were just walking down the hall together. And I was like, don't worry, I don't want to talk to you about that. And she's like, can you drop off this key to Mike? He like left home without it. And also, don't see your friends at school. What are you doing? Hannah, and it's like,
I am so confused by this rule still. Like, and I know we talk about it every time, and I will keep
confusing as hell.
I will keep being confused.
Yeah, and like you said, it gets more complicated later. Of like, well, why the hell? Hannah sees Lucas being awkward around Danielle. Caleb then walks up and says, the date's gonna be a disaster. Hannah says, well, like, help him out then. Caleb says, well, he wants us to go with him. And Hannah says, no, we should not do that. They then see Lucas being weird in the hall, like kind of like looking at Danielle and then walking away. And Hannah's like, okay, maybe we should go. But we're only going together as co-wing people so their date can go smoothly. Nothing romantic. Ruler in between us.
That's how I always set up my dates.
Yeah, exactly.
You may take me to a meal, but you may not be near
me. Opposite side of the table.
Across the table, we will not share chips and guac. Thank you.
Exactly. Across the table and down a seat. So you're not directly
Save room
across.
for Jesus and an apostle.
Yeah, pretend Paul's there.
Do this.
He's across the restaurant. Spencer is at St. Anthony's Hospital, and we know this because we get the outside of St. Anthony's multiple times. And sees Ren in the hallway. I was very confused about med school, and luckily Emily's like, no, they get the white coat like when they go to med school. Ren asks, hey, what are you doing here? And Spencer's like, we need to talk. Spencer, ever the normal person, then looks at the coworker and is like, shouldn't you like go somewhere? Can you like not be here right now?
Shoo, ma'am.
So which, like, the coworker looks at Ren, and Ren's kind of like, it's okay. Spencer then asks Ren about meeting up with Melissa. Spencer says Ian tried to kill her, and Ren's like, oh my God, are you okay? No. Ren says Melissa wanted meds and supplies, and Ian would once meet up once she had those.
Ren is too dumb to live.
I know. And you're a doctor? Ren felt guilty, and he's like, I didn't know you were involved, Spencer, but you need to leave this alone.
Did he not read the paper?
This boy. They don't teach sense in med school. And he's like, you need to leave this alone.
The extensive years you spent in med school, you could.
This is a sample size of one.
And television?
Exactly. Spencer says, I need your help. And Ren says, when I get involved with you or your sister, people get hurt. But you're helping Melissa out. Glass houses, Ren. Spencer says, are you going to help me or not? And Ren says, no. I'm instead going to help out your sister by laundering pain meds to her and her boyfriend or her husband that tried to kill you. Maybe think about that, Spencer. Hannah and the therapist are having their session, and they talk about, like, why separate the friends? And the therapist's like, well, I think it'll help give you perspective. And, like, well, I imagine that you're still, like, seeing each other at school. Then why do it?
Yeah, well, why not tell the parents then that they can see each other at school? It's just that you wanted them to have different extracurriculars or something.
Yeah. Hannah then says, why get perspective if you can't share it with your friends?
Also, like, Emily's on the swim team. Spencer plays field hockey and is in 47 clubs. And Aria's doing her own thing, too, and is taking a class. Like, they all have other things to do.
And Hannah
is stealing lotions at the mall with Mom.
I was going to say, Hannah be shopping.
And shoplifting.
Exactly. And the therapist, completely forgot her name. I just put therapist. Says, I can help you let go of any grief, anger, and all those complicated emotions, and that whatever you're feeling, you can totally move past. She then says to Hannah, like, maybe you need to have a conversation with Allison. She gets up from her chair to be like, oh, pretend Allison is here right now. What would you say to her? Hannah freezes up and leaves. Basketball. We get a bunch of guys dunking. It's always my favorite part because, like, pickup games, people are not dunking. But yet, when we see it on TV, people be dunking.
You don't dunk when you play pickup basketball? Is that when you bring a pickup
Of course.
truck?
Exactly. Toby picks me up. We go over there.
Toby picks me up, and we go in his pickup.
We play pickup.
To go basketball. We just bring a ball.
Exactly. No, it's just really funny that it's, like, high school and, like, it's like it's a public park, but I mean, like, you know. We then cut to Aria looking around the park and calling for her brother. She sees Jason across the way playing basketball. Aria asks one of Mike's friends where he is, and he's like, well, I haven't seen him in, like, the past couple months. And Aria's like, but doesn't he come here, like, every day after school? It's like, again, not for the past couple months. Aria grabs a basketball that rolls over, and it's Jason's. You know, I imagine that Jason didn't miss the shot. He literally, like, underhand rolled it over there. Oh, sorry.
You know what's funny is, like, obviously that's how they had to film that.
I know. Aria then asks Jason, hey, have you seen my brother? And Jason's like, no. Oh my God. And Jason then goes, I was always lying about where I was at his age. And, you know, funny enough, I don't remember much of my time, actually, during that age. And what I do remember, I wish I could forget. Jason says, what I do remember is your pink hair. And I thought it was so cool. Jason says, you always did the unexpected as opposed to me. And I thought that was also cool. And he's like, you know what? I miss that pink hair.
Okay, also, he's like Ian Ezra age.
Yes.
This is an important factor to remember.
So then, you know, we got another one.
We got another one.
Jason. Ian. I'm off camera. Jason. Ian. Ren. Something in the water.
Ezra.
And God. Yes, Ezra, who's similar age group.
Mm-hmm. Garrett and Jenna?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Is Garrett too? Garrett confirmed as well?
I think he's their age.
Yeah. Garrett and Jenna. Yeah, Garrett. Yet another one. Watch out for older boys. But I was just thinking, it's just like during that scene, it's just like, I do declare, Jason, are you
I just
you coming on to me?
imagine 16-year-old me being told by you, watch out for older boys.
You're gonna be my fiance in the future.
Watch out for
After
older boys. It says crazed man. This man rapidly approaching 30.
Exactly. Samara stops Emily after her meet and is like, way to go, like swimming at the meet. You were doing great out there. And also I heard about your scholarship at Danby. Emily's like, how'd you hear about that? And it's like, your mom's telling everybody in the stands. And Emily looks stunned and Samara's like, wait, what's wrong? Do you not want to go there? Or do you not want me to go? And then Emily's like, actually, the letter was made up. And Samara's like, wait, so you just like mailed it to yourself? And Emily's like, something like that. Pam then approaches and Emily introduces her to Samara. Pam says, oh, it's nice to finally meet you. And why don't we have a celebration tonight? And Samara, you should totally come over. Samara tells Emily, like, yes, I would, like, that'd be great. As Pam leaves, Samara tells Emily to relax. And if the truth slips out while she's there, Pam won't be so angry. Spencer arrives home to a note from her mom saying that the parents will be home late. Spencer then talks to herself like, oh joy, another night alone with Melissa. Thank you for that. Spencer then sees the barn door is ajar and walks over there and hears the shower running. Spencer then sees a suitcase and then, of course, decides to open it up. Inside are overnight clothes and prescription medicine and Ian's passport photo. The shower then stops as Spencer furiously...
I mean, his passport, not just the...
Oh, yeah.
She just got the photo he took first.
Everybody loves their passport photo. You gotta get copies of that to put in your wallet.
No smile. Stone face.
The passport. I need my photo. Well, I mean, he could, if he's like trying to get a new passport made up. Although, like, it's hard to get a new passport for a dead man.
What do you mean, Brenton?
Oh, right, we're not there yet. Spencer then furiously closes the suitcase and leaves the barn. Melissa steps out and calls for Spencer because, of course, Spencer would be the person rooting around through her stuff. But doesn't see her, and then the camera pans over and Spencer was hidden behind the side of the barn. Arya and Spencer talk on the phone about the Melissa-Ian developments. Arya mentions that, like, oh, hey, I'm home alone. This is a little scary. And Spencer's like, me too. They hang up. Arya walks over to look at a photo of her family. She hears a sound downstairs and goes to investigate, and then finds Mike, which scares her. Arya asks,
photo of her family where she had her pink hair.
Oh.
She was looking at her pink hair.
I thought this was about Mike, but no, it's like,
Yeah, remember when things were different and I had pink hair?
Mm-hmm. Arya's like, where have you been all day? And actually, why don't you tell me where you've been the past few months? And Mike says, I've been here and there. And Arya's like, well, I'll tell mom and dad. And he's like, well, don't do that, or I'll tell them about you meeting up with your friends. Arya asks why he's doing this. When things were just getting back to normal, Mike's like, it'll never be back to normal. Double dated Hannah's house. Hannah and Danielle talk about how awkward Hannah and Caleb talk about how awkward the Daniel and Lucas date is going. Hannah sticks up for it while Caleb is like, oh no, it's a train wreck. Danielle, we then cut to Danielle and Lucas talking, and Danielle is like, this sucks. Lucas is like, why? Like, aren't you having a good time? Don't you like me? And Danielle, or aren't you having a good time? Danielle's like, I do like you, but like, don't you see that like Hannah keeps checking you out? And Lucas laughs. He's like, I don't think so. Like, why would she bring Caleb? And Danielle's like, to make you jealous. And Danielle's like, is she making you jealous? And he's like, no. And Danielle's like, well, I would be.
Does Danielle want Caleb?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Or does Danielle want Hannah?
I know. Right.
All options are available.
Mm-hmm. And maybe Danielle hasn't put those personal pieces together. But, maybe in the future. Samara and Emily look over a scrapbook of Emily's, and Pam walks in, and then Samara talks to Pam about scrapbooking. Oh, did you use this to glue down? Bah, bah, bah.
Did you use a glue gun for this?
Yeah, what is this, like, material? Pam then says, hey, Emily, we should go, like, visit Danby. That'd be great. Emily's about to tell Pam the truth about, like, the fake letter, and then Samara steps in and is like, hey, I was actually telling Emily she's got a lot of options, and maybe she shouldn't get locked into just one school. There's like plenty of schools that are like going to be like looking for her, and she's got like an entire another year to be making these like decisions. Pam's like, that makes sense. What's the age gap? They're also thinking.
She's a freshman at Hollis,
Hollis?
maybe?
So she's okay.
Or at some school. I
So,
feel like
like-
it was Hollis.
So it's like 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Works Lucas asks Caleb and Hannah to
She
help
also
him.
doesn't have any authority or power over Emily, which I
Yes.
think is an important piece to these dynamics.
Yes, it is.
Garrett is a cop.
Yes.
Ian is a teacher,
Sure.
works at the school. Ezra, teacher,
Yes.
worked at the school.
Mm-hmm. No, I was just wondering if it was
Jason,
another
just kind of terrifying.
Jason and Ian. Yeah. I was wondering if this was a similar situation, but doesn't seem like. Lucas then asks Caleb and Hannah to help him out with the Danielle situation. Like, I'm dying over there. He goes full sad sack. He's like, it's just gonna be horrible. He walks away, and Caleb and Hannah discuss how sad it is that Lucas cares about what other people think. What are we to do? Hannah decides, but of course we need to couple up, and gets cozy up to him, to Caleb, and this immediately works as Danielle grabs Lucas's hand. Spencer's, which almost like reason me just like, oh, two can play at that game, Hannah. I'm not gonna be jealous over you.
Grabs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Caleb, I'm with Lucas.
I think it was, more of her making sure that Hannah didn't want Lucas.
Right. Mm-hmm. Spencer studies in her room, and she sees Melissa load the suitcase in her car. We then cut to Ren talking to Melissa on the phone, saying he's worried Ian has a staph infection and will bring the necessary drugs to help him. He insists that he goes with Melissa to meet Ian. Ren then hangs up the phone, and we see that Spencer's there, and he tells Spencer that Melissa bought it. Hannah walks downstairs the next day and sees Lucas knock on the back. I guess the next day. Times gets kind of weird with this one. Hannah walks downstairs and sees Lucas knock on her back door. Why not the front door? Lucas says thank you to Hannah and that she's come a long way from being just a part of Allison's posse. It means a lot to him that Hannah helped him out so selflessly. Hannah has a moment of clarity, and we cut to her going to the therapist's office. Arya is then getting a text from Spencer saying Spencer's still waiting on hearing from Ren, and that they're worried about like what might happen. Byron then asks Arya if she'd like a ride to school, and she's like, that'd be great. Byron says him and Ella are, both of us are here for you, and we're glad things are getting back to normal. Arya agrees. Mike then leaves his room, and Byron is like, hey, how'd the game go? And he's like, great. And Arya even watched for a minute, and Arya just like grits her teeth and nods her head like, yes. Hannah talks to the therapist in a session and says she's right and that Allison is still hanging around with her. Hannah then talks about how her and Allison's friendship was work, and she had to Hannah had to do things to make her Allison like her. The therapist then asks why it was so important to be her friend, and Hannah says she could make you feel special, and it seemed worth it at the time. Therapist then asks, what would she say to Allie now? Hannah says, I tell her she was my best friend I ever had, and it meant a lot. But you were also the worst enemy I ever had, and I can't believe it took me this long to notice that. Therapist then asks, how would Allison respond? And Hannah then imagines, we can assume, Allison sitting in the chair. Allison then says, look at you, in touch with your feelings. I bet you're pretty impressed with yourself, aren't you? Allison then says she's proud of Hannah and that you need that, and you need me to say that to you because of your low self-esteem. And low self-esteem leads to hefty Hannah. Hannah says, I have, I have friends to back me up. And Allison says, you have what I gave you. You're already losing your friends, and soon all you'll have left is me. I'm the only one you can count on. Hannah says I'd rather be alone and that she can't reach into her life anymore. We then see that Allison is gone, and Hannah looks back at the therapist. Samara stops Emily at the school to check in on last night, and Samara asks if it worked, and Emily says Pam is checking out schools with other scholarships and any schools that have a scholarship and a pool. Samara says, oh, good, then it worked, so we have time to continue then as you look for another place. We don't have to fess up. The therapist walks into her office at night, and it's all torn apart. She finds the clock has been stopped and broken, and on the wall is a message that says, "Nosy bitches die." Spencer gets a call from Ren about knowing where Ian is, and Spencer says she's on the way. And Ren's is like, "Wait, no, wait, hang up," and then Spencer hangs up. Spencer sends out the bat signal, the SOS text. Hannah goes to leave when Ashley stops her. Ashley says, "I got a call from Dr. Sullivan." There we go, finally. And that her office was completely trash. Ashley asked what they talked about in their session and if it's something that someone wanted to know. Because Ashley's like, the police may come with questions and they're going to have a lot more questions with me. You got to get your story straight. Ashley, perfect, is like, we need to get this down pat. Like, we need to figure this out.
Because patient-client confidentiality went out the window when the
police might get involved.
When the therapist's building was trash?
Apparently. Hannah's like, "I don't want to talk about it," and leaves. We then cut to the therapist's office with the police. The cop asks, who else had the keys to the office? And Dr. Sullivan's like, "No one." The officer then responds that there's no signs of forced entry. The friends are all in the car, and Emily asks if they should call Garrett to help him out with this meeting up with Ian idea. They all shoot this down, and they're like, "No, that's a dumb idea." And they don't want him involved in any more shenanigans. They pull up on Ren and Melissa getting out of a car and walking into a barn. The friends then go to follow and find that they have no phone service. They see Ren and Melissa across the way and they're talking. Melissa leaves as Ren is standing alone. They then hear Melissa scream as they all come running and find Ian's dead body with a gun in his hand and blood on his head and a note on the ground. Camera pans up and there's a collection. Oh, and the note... What we can see of it is a confession about killing Allison. Camera then pans up, and there's a collection of horseshoes on the wall with one missing. We then get a POV shot from out in the woods away from the barn of the four friends talking from a distance. The gloved hand then places a phone in, and they opens up the car door of the friends and grabs one of their bags and places a phone inside one of the bags. The end.
Are you ready to unpack that?
I am. Some might say Garrett was there the whole time.
Will Emily ever have to tell her parents the truth?
About the Danby letter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's gonna come up one way. Okay. Or another.
Wow. That's really, really unique and clever phrasing. I've never heard it before.
Realized I was like, well, you're kind of backing yourself into this one.
You gonna find it?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about our double date.
Yeah.
And the whole setup to it and the whole journey through it. So, do we feel like Hannah did this purely out of compassion for Lucas?
I think she also feels, yes, and a little feeling bad towards him.
Do you think she is in any way, shape, or form open to being back with Caleb?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's rattling around in her brain.
And do you think that led to any of the reasons why she agreed to this?
No. I do think it is we're doing this. It's maybe in the back of her brain of okay, and I get the bonus of us hanging out. But I think her main reason is for Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
At least consciously.
How long until we think they're back together? Do we think they get back together?
They're going to get back together this season.
You've already called that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe in a couple episodes, because this is seems to be picking up pace. Mm-hmm. Caleb might disappear for the next couple episodes, actually, just because of the plot developments in this one.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
it's cute. You think they're going to continue with the same thread for more than one episode in a row?
So that's the thing. Okay, so my reasoning for this is that exact reason is because here's the setting up of that thread, because the Jackie stuff. That doesn't come back up. Fitz is gone. That's going to come back up in the couple episodes after this. So then when there's other things going on, especially with all the revelations that we just had in the last one, Caleb is going to be taken over to the side. And Lucas is also going to disappear for a few episodes too.
Okay.
But did you have more questions about
No. That was really all I wanted with the Caleb Hannah.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention that this is the most, it's oh, right, we're writing a teen show. So we have to show them doing teen things. This is getting back to that. So it's
double date.
It's the awkwardness of the high school date and the guy who doesn't know how to be around girls and be on a date, you know, so it's like
Mhm.
super awkward, and they're like projecting on him so that they have to like go through hoops a little bit to make sure it's going well, as if it's like, you know, some game to figure out. So it's fun. It's, you know, it's just funny to like move back into just like pure like teen drama territory with this.
Little teen sillies. Little
Yeah,
teen sillies.
that's right.
Why is Ian giving Melissa ultimatums to help him? You know, like, oh, you can't see me. Like, according to Ren, Ian told Melissa that she couldn't go see him until she had the stuff for him, like the medical stuff. She couldn't know
Mhm.
where he was until she had the things he needed.
Yeah. That might be a theory corner.
Okay. Do you have a theory corner about the whole what's happening with Ian? Like what happened with Ian?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I will hold off on those.
You know, when we say ideas, we got spaghetti on the wall for sure.
Okay, yeah, you got a lot of pasta sauce, baby.
A whole can. Whole jar.
Have I told that story on the podcast?
No.
When Brenton and I first started dating, and he was, you know, when he recently graduated, like within the first year when he graduated college and was feeding himself, I'd go over to his apartment and he'd make dinner or whatever, and he made pasta and, you know, like spaghetti with sauce because it's easy, and you're 22 and you're tired and you don't know how to cook, and there's a lot of pieces to that.
Don't know how to cook, even if I wasn't tired.
So Brenton would get this large pan, like a stew pan.
We finally got rid of it.
We just recently got rid of it. It's been almost 10 years of that pan. And so
just like stock pot, like big stock pot.
Yeah. So he would make the entire box of spaghetti in that pan, and then he would use the entire jar of sauce. And that ratio was just foreign to me.
It's just, you know, it's all there for you, and then you have spaghetti just covered and dripping in sauce.
It was so much sauce.
It was a lot of sauce.
It was so much sauce. And finally one day I was like, why do you do it's like, is that how your mom made it? Like, why do you do that? And he's like, well, isn't it just a 1-to-1 ratio? And I thought that was really cute.
Come a long way.
And if you like to eat an entire box of pasta with an entire jar of sauce, by all means, go for it. But he was not enjoying this ratio. No one was.
Just the way it was.
You were just throwing away sauce at the end of the day because you just leave sauce in the bottom of the pan.
Uh-huh.
He also thought you had to eat the entire box of spaghetti at once.
No, I'd put it in a case for eating later.
Yeah. But I just like you thought you had to cook the entire box at once. These things and more are why I love
for
you.
A single serving, yeah. For a single person.
For one, instead of just making as much pasta as you wanted for dinner, you were like, nope,
everything.
And you know what doesn't heat up well?
Didn't stop me.
At least, you know, in that case it didn't. Long story short, he's a great cook now. But how did we get there? Who was
I mentioned about
spaghetti.
Corner,
Your spaghetti on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll retouch on Ren, Spencer, Ian, all of that later.
Yeah.
Why is this therapist keeping them apart, but then also like, but I know you're all seeing each other. Like, I'm sure you are.
You could have
What is this woman's intention?
I know. You could have just done because
she wanted to see them all separately in therapy.
Exactly. Obviously, in a group setting, they didn't want to tell her anything. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to talk. So you just have separate sessions. Yeah. Why does that need to extend to every part of their lives?
Also, like, if you wanted them to do things outside of each other, why didn't you say they all needed to pick up one extracurricular and join a club?
You would think that would, yeah, because telling them that they can't see each other just makes them more resentful. Mm-hmm. Although,
also, it puts the focus on them not seeing each other and not what she wants them to do.
Right.
She should have focused on what she wants them to do, which is gain perspective.
Here's the thing. Egg on our faces because it works with Hannah. She got lucky because it's not about keeping them separate that like Hannah has. Well, it is. That's what's hilarious is it totally works because then Hannah's like hanging out with Lucas because she doesn't have like her friends around because Lucas is like, oh, okay, I can hang out with you because you don't have your friends around. And then it leads to all this thing and then her getting perspective of like, I need to remedy my relationship with Allison, you know, internally for myself. So like trust the fake therapist, I guess. But I think it's a really dumb idea.
Well, and what's happening with the other girls' sessions?
Right, exactly. Apparently nothing. But this is third act Hannah we're talking about here. And that also, not to jump too much, but Hannah is like, again, the only one that gets to do the growth. Nobody else is doing that like on their own. Like Emily is growing, but it's always in the context of other people, which makes me think that they don't know fully how to write a queer character without it being talking about their relationship. But
the
Hannah,
majority of the characters are only about, like, I would say Arya and Emily are just about their relationships.
And then Spencer is also relationships, but that extends to familial because there's so much going on in her plot. But Hannah, meanwhile, is like, I'm doing reflecting, and I understand that I need to heal this part.
She's
of, like,
self-actualizing.
Exactly, that I need to heal that part of me that is still that looked up to Allison, but also I realized in hindsight how much of a horrible bully she actually was to me. And I need to work on like healing that. And she makes her first steps toward it in this episode. Nobody else gets to do that. Maybe in the future, but then also Hannah so far, we kind of talked about this a little earlier, but like Hannah so far is the only one that has been able to have those kind of like thoughts and talks with Allison as well. You know, just whatever manifestation of Allison is, that's like we get like a physical representation of it, but like her going through her emotions, nobody else is doing that. There's no other appearances of Allison to other people. It's only in the past. Only Hannah is getting those.
And
Hannah in the hospital. Exactly, yeah. Hannah is in the hospital, Hannah and the therapist. Nobody else is like has these dialogues with like their past self and Allison, which is then served to fuel Hannah's growth.
And hospital Allison is the same as therapy Allison, you think?
Yeah.
It is all a
in her head.
In her head.
Not that like, you know, not to like confuse of like, oh no, she's seeing Allison. It's like no.
No. I mean, she was on medication. Like, it would make sense to dream that.
Totally. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. But
you're not saying that Hannah's insane.
No.
Or seeing things.
Exactly.
Or anything.
No, she just yeah, exactly. And for the show, they, you know, chose she gets to have a physical dialogue instead of to like represent what is going on in her head in the session, of her having that dialogue of going through that, of, you know, being like, I don't need you anymore. This representation of Allison that was mean to me and was a bully.
There we go.
That doesn't feel I deserve my friends and that no one has my back and all those things. All those like teen things. And I mean, adult things too, but, very specifically teens.
Love it. Where's Mike going? What's Mike doing?
Smoking pot behind the grocery store. I do think it is going to be revealed that like Mike is doing drugs with like people.
Because they're giving us the Jason kind of third act Jason foil.
Right. But he's also, and then he's also hanging out with Noel somehow, and they're getting up to shenanigans. So
I always forget about Noel Khan.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like he's around.
Well, he's not exactly not these two episodes. So yeah, he's getting into some like hooligan shit.
Okay. He's just being a hooligan.
Yeah, he's just being a breaking bottles.
There we go. Why would Hannah's mom and or the therapist assume that the break-in had anything to do with what Hannah said in her session?
I know.
Did her mom come to that conclusion alone?
I know.
Because the therapist knows what they talked about.
Right. And wouldn't you would think that that's targeting the therapist herself because it says nosy bitches. That it's like, yes, she does this to everybody because she's a therapist. Yeah. Because I didn't think about that when you mentioned that. It's like, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense at all.
It makes no sense.
Unless like, yeah, she didn't write like, because you talked to Hannah.
Right?
It's just like, no, it must be the blonde one.
Is this our first A attack on a non-liar?
Yes. Attack. Because like A has sent letters and things, but
yeah, she sent Ella the letter.
Yeah. But A has
broadened her horizons, or their horizons, or his horizons. The horizons.
Yeah.
the group's horizon.
That's right.
When either
And
confirmed or
physically broke in and attacked.
Okay. Why did A put the phone in the bag at the end?
I think it's gonna be Ian's phone.
And then everything else I had tied into the Ian stuff. So do you want to enter?
All right.
Are we entering Brenton's Theory Corner?
That's right, everybody. Woo, infinity. Theory Corner. Welcome.
I love your typewriter, Ezra.
God damn it.
Computer crashes. Would you rather me call you Jughead?
Tom Hanks is really into typewriters. How about that? Welcome to Brenton's Theory Corner, the segment where we go over all of my
Your
theories.
How you doing over there?
We're doing great. Okay, so what was the first question that I was like, oh, we should table this? That'd be a good jumping off point.
Why is Ian giving Melissa ultimatums to help him?
Right. So,
like, you can't come see me until you have the goods.
So now I'm.
So Ian talks. In case you didn't watch the show.
So now I'm thinking I was wrong initially that Ian survived. Methinks that Ian was actually dead. So
okay,
then
tell me more.
that body was propped up there. So then if we go by my Melissa's A theory, she was not communicating to Ian at all. And that like she was communicating that to Ren as like a cover. I was helping him out. My husband is like, hold up here. He's scared of Spencer. And like he needs being able to get away. Like I need to help him out, but he doesn't want to go to a hospital because of like what Spencer's saying. Yeah.
Okay, so do you think Ren's in on it?
No.
You think Ren is a pawn?
Yes.
A very British pawn.
Exactly. Why me? Ian's where?
Where is it? I'm sure the acting union will be calling soon. Okay, so then when Spencer was texting the number on Melissa's phone, she was texting Melissa? Does A know that Ian's dead? Oh, Melissa's A.
Yeah. So yes. They're one and the same. The father, son, Melissa.
I'm so dumb.
Yeah. But wait. So yeah.
The trick question.
Exactly.
Something to catch you in your lie.
So that's my prevailing A theory. And so it was like trying to manufacture this to get back at the friends and put the screws specifically to Spencer.
Okay.
And so that's I think also
so do you think
now
Melissa
that we
then took the body?
Yeah.
But wasn't she in the hospital?
Supposedly. That's as far as we know.
Okay.
She could also be working with someone else.
Yeah, because that's a big body for a small
and
lady
the person that drops the phone in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So are
you proposing an A team versus just an A?
Yes, I can't remember the A-Team theme song. I want to hum it so bad. So Garrett potentially is running this crap. So I think Garrett was the glove that dropped the phone in the bag.
So you think Melissa's A?
Mm-hmm.
Garrett is her employee.
Exactly right.
Does Garrett have to recruit 3 friends?
Let me tell you, already has. Her name's Jenna.
Jenna. Who else?
Right, exactly. So she's in deep with, she's got all these bottles and she's got to sell them. Let's see, who else is working there? Noel is somehow involved. Anybody else? I mean, Ren is being used. That's not like, he doesn't quite know as much. And I'm sure Garrett like only knows certain things as well. And Jason is an antagonistic force on the outside.
Okay.
So I still go by my theory of Black Hoodie and that he is running away from them as a separate thing, trying to figure out who actually killed Allison and find justice that way. But through his own means because he doesn't trust the police.
And then in theory of who killed Allison then.
Yeah, that's the mess up one because since there is the note at Ian's body, that wasn't written by Ian. So because he didn't actually kill himself. And so the Ian probably thought he did when he pushed her, but someone else must have killed her.
Then, okay.
So then that must be potentially related to Melissa. Melissa might have written up the note to finally put the kibosh.
Just put the full circle on it.
That's right.
So then if that's the case, then did they just keep Ian on ice?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to clear.
Well, I mean, we'll find out. Like, it could be like, oh yeah, he's been dead for weeks. But we don't know.
Okay.
We might find that out in later.
Okay.
Just like, actually, Ian died days before.
Yeah, because time doesn't move in this town in the correct order.
Exactly. So, is there any other? I mean, there's definitely holes in my theory, but I mean, is there any other big gaping holes that I didn't cover? Because then I can go on to another one.
I know I had. Did Ian kill himself? Why the phone? Ren, Spencer, Melissa, that whole thing. So no, I think you covered that. I mean,
Okay.
there's gaping holes in the sense that
What do we
motive.
know?
How did Melissa get all this information about the girls
Totally.
to pretend to be Allison? Why is she pretending to be Allison?
Same.
There's lots of like we lack a little bit of motive, but I think regardless of who we diagnose as A right now, we lack that full picture.
Totally. Here's another idea. So also Melissa also could have been involved somehow with the parties over at the De Laurentiis. So that could be like part of that stuff. And then Allison is the specter of these girls. So then she's trying to get one over on them and so can use that.
Okay.
But again, gaping a little bit. So then another one could be Allison's still alive theory.
Okay.
And so has been like pretty much like holding Ian hostage, seeing how much they would go through, like testing to see like how much like can I get you to do, Melissa, pretty much. So then Melissa actually arriving there is a surprise. Ian's dead. Ian died by gunshot wound there. Actually did die at that place.
Okay.
And this is Allison getting revenge on people.
So Allison killed Ian? Okay.
And
so Allison's A.
Yes. Allison did not die on that day. Getting revenge back on.
And she's getting
Ian.
revenge on. Okay. Any other theories?
Fitz could be A, but I have no idea how he ties into any of the rest of this. So no, we're just gonna set that one off to the side.
Okay.
His picture's still up on the board.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, we don't take him down.
Right. And
what's his alibi?
Exactly. And same with Noel. We don't know.
We don't know. I like it.
Yeah. I think that's everything for Theory Corner. Yeah.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for coming to Theory Corner.
I loved it. You did great.
Thank you so much. Another great segment. Everybody's favorite segment.
Well, it's my personal favorite because
they love the music. I mean, we don't get to hear the music, but that's all right.
That's okay. I know, in my heart of hearts, I just really love hearing your theories because, it's easier to retrofit. You can. The plot of the show makes no sense, and you know that, and I know that, and we know that, and we know where it ends, but like.
We like to have fun here.
Who knows? But I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
There's a method to the madness, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Cool.
We try.
Exactly. Any final thoughts? Do you want to rank the girls? We kind of already know yours.
We already
It's
know.
not changing.
Yeah.
You love Hannah, and the rest of us are just top liver.
Yeah, out of the characters on the show. And she got to cement a lot of her place. And I think what I was like talking about earlier of her being the one that's able to grow, I think that's a lot of like the good things like why I like Hannah a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She's like an interesting character to like watch that in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you know, seeing personal character growth is fun. And then Spencer is just again absolute chaos agent. So just like making havoc everywhere she goes.
We love it.
Mm-hmm.
And are you excited to go for a ride in Topi's truck?
Oh yeah.
Is he picking you up tonight?
Yeah, shirtless.
You're gonna make him spaghetti?
What do you mean there's too much sauce?
I love it. Any final thoughts or theories you want to throw out there before we plug and go?
I think that's it for this week. I think these were really good episodes. I think the season started off a little like whatever. But these ones, we got some good stuff, and I'm excited to see what comes out on the other end of finding Ian's body. Also, first dead body.
Oh yeah, huh?
Yeah.
He's the first one we've seen.
Yes, exactly. This is confirmed dead body now.
Don't worry, he won't be the last.
I
feel like this is when the show.
Ian.
I feel like this is when the show really starts stacking up like the crimes.
Now that it's like escalated so much that it's like the seal's kind of broken. So
someone was murdered or died in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Whether
tripped on a gun and it fired.
Well, whether Ian died when he fell and then someone made it look like that, or whoever killed Allison, like there has now officially been some form of murder, we assume.
Yes.
But who did it?
Oh, actually, the one thing we kind of already talked about it anyway, but I do find the wild card of Jason and Arya just like car crash entertaining.
Yes.
But also simultaneously creepy. The older men really into Arya.
Yes. Well, yeah. She's small.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That interesting.
Well, in that case, shall we plug?
Yeah, let's do it.
When we're not here doing this, sometimes I do other things, including career coaching or life coaching. You can find all of my details about that linked below or on butreallythough.com, though is spelled THO. And I also post content on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. I haven't done that in a long time, but I used to. And you can find the links to all of that on that link tree as well.
Yep. That is pasted in the description of all our episodes. You can also find mine pointing to my YouTube channel, Burger Discourse, where we do Let's Play. We're still playing through Chain of Memories. We're taking our sweet time. We haven't played in a few weeks. We'll get back to it.
We'll get through it.
Yep, we will. We will. And you can also find one. The more I plug it, at some point the levee has to break, and I have to write a blog. BurgerDiscourse.com. I would love to get back to blog writing. This year has been a lot of energy and spent in other places, so I just haven't had time.
We're busy bees.
Exactly. You can also send us an email if you got questions, just general comments about the show. Send them into deadendspcast@gmail.com. So that's deadendspcast@gmail.com. Deadendspcast. And we'll figure out some way of figuring it into this show or dedicated Q&A. I don't know. We'll see.
Send in if you're watching the show for the first time, or if you remember what your theories were when you watched it the first time. Send in your theories if you want to. I would love to see them, and then I can read them.
Yes,
and we can compare them to Brenton's theories, and it'll be so fun.
That'd be fantastic.
Can't tell you all of my theories.
Because you've seen.
It's been so long.
I see. Yeah, that'd be great. And then if you please no spoilers.
And if you think it'll have a spoiler, just put in the big letters in the top that like Emily opened this one or something.
Yeah, and also make sure, because this is a Gmail account, that like the preview text that comes up isn't in like the first few lines.
Or lie.
Let's just make it easier on me.
I like the mind game of someone maybe putting something and you're like, oh my god, they gave it to me, and I'm like, no, they didn't.
And then you can also find this video version on YouTube at Dead Ends. You can also find this on all of your audio podcast platforms of choice. We would love a subscribe, a like, or a review.
Share it with your friends.
Yeah, it helps. We're a small podcast. We don't do no advertising. So any word of mouth or any of that stuff helps with the algorithm. And
thank you to everyone who's already done that.
Yeah,
we've seen some pretty chunky growth.
Yes, we have. It's been really great. So I'm glad people like it. And if you don't, you know,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you
for stopping by.
Well,
okay, we're still here. We're gonna find out everything.
Are you?
Yes.
You're very confident.
I'm very confident. Boy, me, we found out everything.